Homes live here with Bayut. Find real and authentic properties using TrueCheck. Download the app or visit Bayut.com.
So just a couple of weeks left in 2023, and then we, of course, move into a brand new year. But not before we've had a little bit of a look back and see, a little bit of a walk down memory lane of 2023. We are joined, as we are regularly throughout the season, by the Director of Sales at Dubizzle and Bayut. Fibha Ahmed is here with us. Fibha, all the best to you. Thanks so much indeed for joining us.
Hi, how are you?
Good, my friend, good. And it's been kind of you to give us so much of your experience, your knowledge throughout the year. But an opportunity for us now to look back at the year that was, almost, although records will probably be broken in the next 2 weeks. So you always feel a little bit nervous about mentioning the year that was. The market overall, how did you read it in 2023?
I think you've pretty much summed it up. We're still waiting for some more records to be broken this year. Phenomenal week, phenomenal day, great month. 2023 has been a year of hyperactivity, I would say. A lot of focus that I've personally observed has been on the luxury segment of the market. Overall, we've seen that 2022 itself was a very, very active year coming out of Corona, and then how the market picked up really fairly quickly after that. But 2023 itself has given us very many new highs, if we must say, not only in terms of the high-rise buildings that were announced and were launched, but also in terms of transactions, volume. This year so far, and yes, as you rightly said, we still have 2 weeks left to go, so we can't make a fair comparison to last year. But if you look at the numbers already, we are 30% more in volume in transactions and 40% in value of these transactions. Yes, the conversation has been a lot on the luxury segment, but what was interesting for me when I was reading through some reports is the fact that all segments of the market have seen a really, really good momentum and activity. People have spoken a lot about branded residences this year. We've spoken a lot about villa communities with wellness at the center, sustainability. But when you break down the data, you see that you've seen progress and activity in all segments. One interesting segment is your under 500K ticket price areas, where we've seen 34% more transactions this year, 34% more prices of transacted value, and 50 to 60% more transactions. Now, when you move into the category of under 1 mil, you would see there have been 100% more transactions as compared to last year. And these areas are, again, gaining a lot of momentum and are top of mind when the investors are looking to enter the market. So great year so far. Across the board. Yes, we've been talking about rents going up and people making Dubai their permanent home, and long-time renters are now looking to enter the market. I think we've seen all of this fairly come into play this year.
But you're so right there. I mean, there's been a lot of chat around real estate and property, but the facts, the stats and the facts back up the fact that it has been a record-breaking year.
It has been indeed. We've seen the most expensive property category being sold here. So when you look at some really high-class launches that were made, it was interesting to see that Como Residence in Palm Jumeirah has stood out to be the third most expensive penthouse sold this year, right after one sold in Monaco in London. Also, Dubai has made it to the list of the cities globally where the most expensive houses above the $10 million mark have been sold. We've sold about 277 houses so far this year. So yeah, all kind of records were made this year in terms of who's going to make the biggest launch. We've had great launches like the Oasis, and of course Palm Jebel Ali coming back into news, claiming it's going to have 80 hotels and retail spaces in the next couple of years to come. So yeah, I mean, headlines were there, but rightly so.
To address that, the topic about the launches, and there have been some big launches this year, but is that going to solve the supply and demand issue in terms of pipeline properties out there? Or what are we looking? Are we going to get delivery in 2024 of any?
A lot of launches, keep in mind, were made in 2022 as well. When you look at areas like JVC, and I do a comparison, their activity has been fairly high, not only this year, but towards the back end of last year. So yes, you can expect these deliveries to start coming in, I would say roughly around Q2, Q3 of 2024. Just when you look up all the future projects that are to be handed over, you see they're fairly spread out. There are some in MBR City, in Shobha area, then you see them in the Medan area, you see JVC handing over. But yes, the mega projects that have been launched this year are going to look at handover in 2026-27.
Launches are one thing, announcements of new developments are another. But in terms of announcements, what were the sort of big game changers for you that have helped to shape the market this year in terms of policy, in terms of movement or to various areas? I mean, we focus a lot on the actual properties themselves, but has the market matured?
Absolutely. When you look at what's to come in the future years, I think two of the very significant moves that we've heard were announced very recently. The first one I would attribute it to the unified GCC visa. That is going to give another boost to the tourism industry, which is already doing pretty well this year, as you've mentioned throughout this show. We've had a record-breaking number of tourists come to Dubai and visit all the beautiful destinations we made here. So I think the unified GCC visa, which is to come into play in 2024, is going to have an immediate impact in terms of how many people actually come and see it for themselves, living in the desert, and how it is full of glitz and glam. But another interesting announcement that came up, and it was fairly recently, is the extension of Blue Line metro station, which is going to give connectivity and accessibility to a lot of these areas, which are already very, very popular. International City, then you look at the Murtif and Warka area, which are your very well-established areas favored by families for rent, bigger villas. All of these are going to get access to the main areas of the city. And I think in the future years, we would see a lot of activity coming to market in these areas, and people would have a lot more options than your regular JLT, Marina, and your Business Bay areas.
And just finally, I mean, ordinarily, one would look at the end of the year, final 2 weeks of the year, as a little bit of a quieter period, a downturn in business. But we have seen in the past, new eyeballs on the city generates more leads, generates more interest in real estate as well. And with 4 million people using Dubai Airport over the course of the next month or so, is this an opportunity again for brokers, for agents out there?
Absolutely, in a market which is full of foreign investors who come here and they see it for themselves, because I think property is a big investment. You really have to get a sense and a feel of where you're going to put your money in. This period is very active in terms of people coming to look and explore and learn. Hence, we've launched multiple products on our own website as well. We have recently launched BayutGPT, where you can ask the portal questions as to which areas are going to be increasing in value, so on and so forth. So people are going to make use of this time. They're going to do their research as they are very close to the action. And certainly in the busy season as we approach January, February, that's when you're actually going to see the activity.
Fibha, can't thank you enough for your time this morning. Thanks so much indeed. All the best for the holiday season to you and your team. And thanks also for all your support throughout the year as well. It's been a cracker. So a big thanks to Fibha Ahmed, Director of Sales, Dubizzle and Bayut. Time now for the latest.